Welcome back to Adri's Homestead Life. Today we are going to put some chicken broth to the freezer. We've made this chicken broth a couple of days ago. I let to sit overnight and next day until it cools down completely. The following day I put it to the fridge, and for the next day the fat rises to the top and sets, and it's easy to skim off like this. The reason I'm doing that, especially usually when I'm canning, probably wouldn't be too much problem with freezing it, but it can get rinsed if you don't use it up for, a shorter amount of time. So I like to skim this off and I keep it. You can cook with this fat. This is yummy. You can put it over rice, whatever you cook, you can use this fat up. And that would just give us with clear broth. I've learned this trick for a long time ago now, and it works for me. So I just like skim this fat off, and then the leftover. At the moment I've still got some chicken meat in there, and I still got some vegetable, so I'm going to sieve it through, and I'm only going to freeze the pure chicken broth. Right, it didn't take long, so all that fat is now, actually I'll let the broth go back. Like that, and that just left us with chicken, yummy chicken fat. Next I'm going to sieve this through, remove the meat, and then we're going to bought these liter plastic pots and I'm going to freeze them in this. I sieved 3 liters of chicken broth and I've got 6 liter tubs in here. What I'm going to do, aiming to put about half a liter per each. It doesn't need to be exact, but just about half a liter to each pot. Because this is going to the freezer and we don't really want to put it to the full up to the top. I need some space for when it's gonna expand, when it freezes over. So it's about half a liter now in each pot. Perfect. We're just gonna put the lid on and we take it to the freezer. Before we take it to the freezer, make sure we're gonna write on the top what it is and when we've done it. So I'm going to put chicken broth September 2023. Chicken broth September 2023. Wow, I've managed to do 12 of these little plastic tubs. Got half a liter each, so it's 6 liter chicken broth. It's now ready to go to the freezer. Such a lovely way not to waste this lovely chicken. When I have a chicken butchering day, these are the products what would usually probably discard. So the feet, the neck, the body, when you take your wings and thighs and breast off, and then all the leftovers. That's what I use to make this beautiful, delicious, healthy chicken broth. So it's got all the goodness, half a day it's simmering on a stove, put some vegetables in it, season it, and this is, when you feel under the weather, just take it out and just drink it as it is, or use it up to make rice, pasta, stews, soups. I use it in anything. Right, this is now ready to go to the freezer. Let's take it. So all the chicken broth are now in the freezer, and I have just turned the freeze dryer on, and we're going to put all these onions what we prepped and pre-frozen in the freeze dryer. Our next job is to make goat's milk jack cheese, rice pudding, yogurt and buttermilk. I have got delicious 10 litre of delicious goat's milk in front of me, and we're going to use up all this milk to make all that yummy food. So I'm going to start to measure out the milk what we need for the making the cheese. We're going to use about a gallon for that, so just over 4 litre. We're gonna use 2 litre probably to make yogurt and 2 litre to make buttermilk. I'll keep a litre for making rice pudding, and then the leftover goes with the milk. So let's do it. I am making yogurt and buttermilk next. So I've got 2 pots behind me on the stove. We need to pasteurize our milk, so I've got the 2 litre milk in each pot, and I'm going to pasteurize those milk. So I'm going to heat those milk up to 162 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna leave it there for 15 seconds. Remove it straight from the stove, and I'm going to leave it until they cool down before we do the next step. With the yogurt, I'm going to cool the milk down to about 110-115 degrees Fahrenheit before we're going to add a cup of yogurt, natural yogurt with live cultures from the shop, and give it a good mix, and then leave it until tomorrow. With the buttermilk, we're going to cool that down to more to like room temperature, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, before we add the buttermilk from the shop, and we're going to stir it well. And we're gonna have yogurt and buttermilk tomorrow. I am very fortunate that my Aga gives roughly about the temperature what the yogurt and the buttermilk needs to set, because they need that constant heat to, I'm just checking, make sure it's not going over 162 degrees. They need this constant heat to, you know, to all those live, the culture and the bacteria in the milk and the starters to work together to set that milk to become yogurt and buttermilk. So, but if you got a dehydrator where you can remove the shelves, you can use those, you know, or there are yogurt maker, or there you can people use pots with warm water. But you know, I'm just going to use these plastic tops to get a use of it now. So I'm gonna put 2 litre each with the cultures, and I'm gonna leave it just right here by my Aga until tomorrow, and we're going to check on the consistency. If we're happy, we can straight away eat the yogurt, we can flavor it, you know. I'm getting now more and more autumn fruit and raspberry and the goji berry coming in slowly, so I can put that in. Actually, I've just made an overnight oat with the yogurt I've made yesterday. So I haven't checked that yet. I'm very curious. I'm gonna give it a try with some maple syrup or honey on the top. But yeah, so that's how easy to make your homemade yogurt and buttermilk. And from the buttermilk, we can make all sorts of yummy stuff. So let's go make the cheese, the goat's milk jack cheese next. The milk just reached the 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to remove off heat. And we are going to stir in the buttermilk and leave this to culture for 45 minutes. So maybe I just have about a third of a cup, the leftover from the buttermilk making process. So might as well use this up. Give it a good stir and leave this. You can cover it or uncover it, you know, and leave it for 45 minutes. Next job, I'm going to make the rice pudding. So I've got half a cup of measures, so we're gonna take one cup, and we're gonna do another one. 1.5, 2 cups of rice, and we're gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4 cups of water. I'm going to cook the rice. Good stir. Use a pinch of salt. I'm going to partially cook the rice. And this water and a bit of salt can go on a stove. The rice is now cooked. I've added slowly about 700 ml of the milk as well. So we started off the liter and I've got about 300 ml left. But I will add all that as well. So let's add all. So it's got a liter of milk in here now. And this is now ready to go to the oven. We're just going to add a few more bits and bobs in it. Now I've got in this glass bowl, I've got 4 eggs, and teaspoon of cinnamon and teaspoon of cocoa powder. I'm gonna give it a good whisk, and we're going to pour this over the rice. Also, we're going to add about a quarter of this 250 gram unsalted butter in the rice and going to stir it in. So added the butter. That will melt. And I'm going to stir in the 4 eggs and the cinnamon and a cocoa powder. And we're going to stir this in until it's all combined and uncovered. I'm going to put this in a hot oven for about 20 minutes. Yogurt is gone down to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are ready to mix the milk and our starter culture yogurt in it. And we're going to give a very good stir. Pour it in those plastic dishes, cover it and leave it by the auger by my stove, what is on 24/7, and leave it there in a nice warm environment for ideally 8 to 12 hours. I might leave it overnight. Give it a good stir. And now we're waiting on the other milk that needs to come down to room temperature, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit for the buttermilk. The rice pudding is now in the oven. I'm going to turn the alarm on for 20 minutes for that. And we can put the rennet to the cheese. So put the rennet and give it a good stir. About 10 times, and then still the motion and leave it there for another 45 minutes until it sets. Okay, so I've just cut the curds and now I've put the milk back on a stove and I'm going to bring this up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit within about 20 minutes. So I've cut the curds and then I let it sit for about 5 minutes, those curds to heal, and now gently I'm just going to stir this for 20 minutes. And with those gentle stir, we do some additional cutting. We try to get to those inch cube stage. So I'm just gonna do this for 20 minutes until the temperature comes up, and we're going to remove some of the whey, put about a liter water back to it, and we're going to bring that up again for 100 degrees Fahrenheit and leave it there for 30 minutes before we strain it and put it in a cheese mold. The rice pudding is out of the oven. It's looking delicious. I've put a tablespoon of vanilla to it and a cup of sugar. And I'm going to give it a good stir. I might put maybe a cup and a half of sugar and give it a good stir. And have a taste test. So, looking delicious. So I will be serving this just as it is and pour over some maple syrup or honey. I really like it with jam or compote. I absolutely love. You can serve this as dessert, even as a main meal. Let's try this. That's delicious. Delicious. It is the next day, and let me show you the result. So, our goat's milk jack cheese looking really good. This is the overnight oat I've done a couple of days ago. And this is the rice pudding, what we've made together. That's delicious. I like putting jam over it. And that's the yogurt. Look how it's getting really thick. Can you see? And that's the buttermilk. The onion finished freeze drying. Have a taste test. Freeze dried onion is one of the best. Sweet and spicy. Oh, this is delicious. That's the white onion. I'm gonna make onion powder with these. Oh wow, this is so good. It's gotta be one of my favorite. Freeze-dried onion. Okay, the freeze-dried onions in the blender, and I'm going to blend this to powder. Have a look. Wow, smells delicious. A homegrown, homemade, lovely, delicious onion powder. Let's put this onion powder now in the jar. I think we're going to fill this quart jar, because I've got another one. It blends to powder, and we've got half a jar in here. Look, I love using onion powder. I'm just thinking, you know, when I make my homemade mayo for any dishes, garlic and onion, even when I make sourdough bread, it's just, you know, endless opportunities. So the chicken broth is in a freezer, it's now frozen over, it's there when I need it. The cheese, the goat's milk jack cheese turned out brilliant, and the yogurt and a buttermilk also. So thanks for watching and see you very soon. Bye friends!